I want to introduce one other person right now. Over the years, what we've learned is that as a community, we should not ignore any element. And that includes business, it includes all the various organizations that are in the downtown east side, but also organizations that are potentially supportive of the kinds of things that we would like to do down here. We realize that our voices sometimes cannot be heard except through intermediaries. And it's very important that we do that. And we have learned over the last 4, 5, 6 years of attending Board of Trade meetings very specifically to figure out how does the business world work and how do we tap into that world. We've learned to appreciate Bob Laurie, who is the chairperson of the Community Affairs Committee. 3 of us from this particular group, Scott, Judy, and myself, are on that committee. And what we've learned is that there's a lot of empathy for what we're trying to do and a lot of potential support for what we're trying to do. So I'd like Bob to say a few words.
Yay!
Just a few.
Just a few. That's all I get.
Get the hook, get the gong. Okay. Yeah, my name is Bob Laurie. I'm, as pointed out by the Right Honorable Hendrik Okema here.
Yay!
I'm the chair of the Community Affairs Committee. And if you think in terms of a 3-legged stool, the Board of Trade has 3 legs on it. We all think economic, but without environmental and social, that stool doesn't work. So all 3 legs. I'm the kind of social leg, and it's more my way to learn. I'm not social by background, I'm business by background, but I moved here, I met Wes, Judy, Hendrik, and who's my alive friend, are teaching me a whole new way. So I'm delighted to be here. I want to make a declaration, not a speech. There's enough leadership. We're looking at it here in the downtown east side. It doesn't need any more leaders. What it needs is bridging, facilitation, and listening to take the message from here out there. And that's how I see my spot, my position, because of the wonderful 2 years ago, in its infinite wisdom, the chief economist of the Board of Trade decided that the Downtown East Side Roundtable wasn't worthy of being a committee, so they rolled it into the CAC, Community Affairs Committee, and I was co-chair. What the hell are they doing here? Well, I want to tell you, it's a reverse takeover because they're running things today. I'm just up here as the mouthpiece. But when I look at the activity and the pleasure of friendship of these 3 people, and I've met so many more people because of it, I'm thankful. I just want to say that as supporting the leadership, we'll subscribe to 3 filters. Our support will continue as long as that leadership, and I think it's grown to 20, and I'm delighted, the 4 BIAs, Raycam, Mission Possible, Embers, Van City, I'm sure I'm going to miss, but NICCS, Raycam Co-op, and Kate, I can't even spell her last name, Hudson, Alive, and I'll get back to 2 things that I've learned at the very end, but Alive has a lot to do with it, and W2, and there are more I'm sure, and I probably missed, but the 3 things that the Board of Trade will support all leaders if they start with self-reliance, they then go to empowerment. Empowerment in our mind is both political, the voice is heard, but it's fiscal, money. Because money can get a lot of attention, but it has to be in balance. And lastly, a place-based strategy. If a leadership in this area does not espouse those 3 areas, the Board of Trade will not support it in that role of facilitation. And I want to make, that's a declaration, I'll make that loud and clear. That has been endorsed by the overall board of the Board of Trade, and that's the mantra. We also look for the committees that are receiving taxpayer money, do they really want to be unemployed? And if they want to be unemployed, we support them, because if they're unemployed, there are no more problems. Now, that's naive. So I just want to finish by saying those principles are the filters by who we support. And this guy in the red shirt taught me how that, and the Right Honorable Senator here, and the real brains behind the other 2 is this lady right here. Our priorities for last year, previous 2 years, and probably the next 5 years are kids, embryo to 19. we were going 0 to 6 last year. But embryo takes into account fetal alcohol perhaps, or things that a mother needs when she's going to give birth to a child. So we want to start early, and we go to 19 because sometimes at 19, a kid with autism suddenly is thrown out into the world. There's no group support, no group home. So that's kind of the spectrum. We also have a policy called Kids in Crime. So pay the kids now, 0 to 6, or embryo to 19. Pay them now, or you'll pay a whole lot later when they're in the system. The other thing, inner city is our third topic, and we totally support the economic development initiative that's underway. Everybody needs a job of value and worth, and the Embers and the Mission Possibles, the training that is provided, it's built in the inner city, for the inner city. We also, urban aboriginals. I'm learning a lot about First Nations. Thank you, Scott. Mental health. What the hell are we talking about where the next park is down here? When we have people wandering around, don't know where their prescription is, so they self-medicate. Well, mental health or mental illness combined with crack cocaine addiction, that's $1 gazillion to try to straighten that up. So that kind of money that doesn't need to be used there can be used at early intervention and all sorts of things. So mental health, all sorts of people, all have a voice and all have a right to be heard. Lastly, it's just emergency preparedness. That's a hot button to Judy's and Dave Parks. Finally, I want to share 2 things I've learned with you in the last 2 years knowing these folks. First is, it all matters because it's all connected. You can't just say economic is important because without money we got nothing. No, you got economic with environmental and social, you got nothing. And lastly, the best in no the good. No, tell me about your T-shirt you just gave me. I wore it to our board meeting on Tuesday. The only good Indian is a live Indian, and I subscribe to that a lot. It's empowerment of those, and I give Scott like $1 gazillion kudos.
We'll take the dollars.
Yeah, I like dollars, but start with the worth of the individual, and don't listen to someone that's giving you advice. The person that should be giving advice should be listening to what our urban aboriginals need, along with everybody else, but in particular the abuse cycle that brings tears to all our eyes over the last ridiculous period of time. And it all comes from the sexual intellectuals. You got here 10,000 years ahead of me. We're all immigrants. Well, I should have been listening to you, not you listening to me. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to continuing.